All right, let's dive into this mandala ending note.
Sounds good.
You know, you've given us a bunch of really fascinating sources here, all the way from Japan,
Yeah.
about this interesting, I guess, take on end-of-life planning.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've got materials here, like I said, from official associations, facilitator, training manuals.
Right.
So we're getting kind of a really well-rounded look, I think, at this whole concept.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So maybe we can start with like the big picture here.
Okay.
Like, what exactly is this mandala ending note, and
Yeah.
how does it kind of fit into Japanese culture?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, in Japan, there's this concept of shukatsu.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's really about like preparing for the end of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about practicalities. It's more about, you know, finding meaning, making sure your wishes are known.
Right.
And the mandala ending note kind of fits into that
Okay.
by providing this really structured framework,
Okay.
thinking about and communicating your wishes.
So it's like more than just a will.
Right.
Or like a living will kind of thing.
It's more than that. It's like this guided notebook that helps you visualize and articulate your wishes.
Okay.
And it uses this visual tool called the mandala chart.
Mandala chart.
Which
Yeah.
I think is really cool.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. How does that work?
So basically it starts with like a central theme,
Okay.
and then it branches out into these different sections. And it makes it a lot easier to kind of grapple with these sensitive topics.
Yeah, for sure.
And to communicate them to your loved ones.
Okay. So it's not just about, you know, writing down your wishes.
Right.
It's about like having conversations with your family about it too.
Exactly.
That's really important.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, there are 3 methodologies
Right.
that are integrated into the mandala ending note.
Mm-hmm.
You got like the magic questions, the mandala chart itself, and then this supporter theory.
You got it.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious about who came up with this? Like,
Yeah.
who are the brains behind this mandala ending note?
So the main developers are Hidetomo Onodera and Takashi Hashimoto.
Okay.
And Onodera has a background in the funeral industry. So he's got a lot of experience with, you know, end-of-life support.
So he's seen it all.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about Hashimoto?
Hashimoto is a coaching expert,
Okay.
and he's the one who kind of brought in the supporter theory.
Interesting. So it's like you're not just filling out a form.
Right.
You've got like this support system built in.
Yeah, like you have this guide by your side
I like that.
as you're navigating these questions.
That's cool. Now, you mentioned that there were other people involved as well.
Yeah.
Besides Onodera and Hashimoto,
Right.
who else contributed to this?
So there's Mitsuhiro Matsuda, who developed the magic questions,
Okay.
and then Yasuo Matsumura, who actually developed the mandala chart itself.
Oh, wow. So they took the mandala chart and kind of adapted it to this ending note concept.
Yeah, it's really clever.
That's fascinating.
And it's-
So it sounds like this is like a really collaborative effort
Yeah, it really...
to bring together all these different ideas and make something truly unique.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just a practical tool.
Okay.
It really encourages self-reflection and open communication,
Right.
which are both so important when dealing with these topics.
Absolutely. So I'm picturing this notebook, but like, how does it actually work in practice?
Right.
You know, walk me through the structure a little bit.
Okay, so the mandala ending note has 9 different sections.
Okay.
And each one tackles a specific theme related to end-of-life planning.
9 sections.
Yeah.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
Yeah, they cover a lot of ground.
Okay, but like, what kind of themes are we talking about here?
So you've got sections like my life, if I become ill, message to loved ones,
Okay.
funeral inheritance.
So it's a mix of practical stuff and
Well,
more emotional stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
But like within each section, how do they actually like guide you through it?
So that's where the mandala chart comes in.
Okay.
Each section starts with a central theme,
Okay.
and then it branches out into 8 carefully crafted questions.
That's interesting.
And these questions are designed to kind of gently guide you towards deeper reflection and help you articulate your wishes.
Okay. Can you give me an example of like what kind of questions we're talking about here?
Yeah, so let's take the My Life section, for example.
Okay.
The central theme is like drawing a map of your life.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions asks you to identify key words that describe your life.
Okay.
Another one asks what you're most proud of.
Wow, those are deep.
Yeah,
They make you think.
they really do.
And then it eases you into more practical questions like
Okay.
what kind of lifestyle you envision for the future, what you want to leave behind.
I can see how this could be really helpful
Yeah.
for people to kind of like process all of this.
Yeah, and it's not about having all the answers right away. Right, because I was going to ask, like,
Yeah.
do you have to, like, know everything before you start this?
No, not at all.
Okay.
There are actually 5 rules for using the note.
5 rules, lay them on me.
Okay, so rule number 1 is answer intuitively.
Okay.
Rule number 2, be honest or aspirational.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 3, share your thoughts with loved ones.
Okay, so they're encouraging you to, like, talk about this with your family.
Yeah.
Not just keep it all to yourself.
Exactly.
I like that.
What were we on rule number 4?
4.
Your answers can change over time.
Okay.
And rule number 5, it's okay not to know the answer to everything.
I love that. So it takes the pressure off of having it all figured out.
Exactly.
Like right now.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be a solo journey.
Oh, so you're telling me there's more?
There's more.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
There are actually trained facilitators
Okay.
who guide workshops
Workshops.
based on the mandala ending note.
So it's not just you in this notebook. There's like this whole community element to it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I bet those facilitators play a pretty important role then.
Oh, they're essential. They really are. I mean, they go through this extensive training, not just to understand the structure of the note, but like to create a safe space for people who are participating in these workshops.
I imagine that's a key part of this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So what does that training actually involve?
So it's like a 4-part journey.
4-part journey. Okay.
First, they actually experience the mandala ending note themselves.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. They're not just like preaching it. They've actually gone through it.
They've walked the walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they delve into like the theory behind it.
Okay.
The magic questions, the mandala chart, supporter theory.
Right.
Really understanding like why this approach works.
So they're not just learning like the steps.
Right.
They're learning like the philosophy behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
And then it gets really hands-on. They actually practice facilitating.
Okay.
Learning how to guide discussions, create that safe environment.
Right.
And also learning how to deal with participants' anxieties.
Yeah, because this is heavy stuff.
It can be really emotional for some people.
For sure.
And then finally, they focus on like planning future activities, how to promote their workshops, really build a practice around this.
Right. So it's not just about learning how to do it.
Right.
But also how to share it.
Exactly. Yeah.
With other people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And beyond all that practical stuff, there are these 3 core skills.
3 core skills. What are they?
Listening, empathizing, and encouraging participants.
Okay. So it sounds like being a facilitator for this is almost like being a therapist in some ways.
You're picking up on something there. It's about like facilitating authentic human connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about like leading people to predetermined answers. It's about helping them discover their own answers.
It's like holding space for them.
Exactly.
To figure out what they really want and what's important to them.
Yeah, and they learn practical techniques too, like how to rephrase questions.
Okay.
To make them easier to understand.
Right.
Or how to encourage people who are struggling to like articulate their thoughts.
It's giving them the tools to express themselves.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I found interesting in the training materials was this anecdote about a workshop with senior participants.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this one woman who was initially like quite apprehensive. But she ended up finding a lot of joy and purpose in completing the mandala ending note.
It's amazing how transformative it can be.
Yeah, it's not just about like checking boxes. It's about like self-discovery and finding peace of mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about how this is really valuable for personal reflection. But I understand it also has some applications for professionals as well.
It does.
Okay, so tell me more about that. Like, how can professionals use this?
Okay, so let's start with funeral directors.
Okay.
Imagine them using the mandala ending note to have deeper conversations with clients. It's not just about logistics anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding the person's life, their values, their wishes.
Right. To create like a more personalized send-off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And think about legal and financial advisors.
Okay.
They could use the mandala ending note as like a starting point
Okay.
for discussing estate planning and wills.
Right, because it's not just about the legal documents.
Right.
It's about understanding what the person actually wants
Exactly.
to happen with their assets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a really good point.
And then healthcare and elder care professionals
Okay.
could also find this really helpful,
Yeah.
especially when discussing end-of-life care preferences.
Right, because that's a really sensitive topic
It-
that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, and having those wishes documented can be so empowering
Absolutely.
for patients,
Yeah.
know, knowing that their voice will be heard.
Even if they're not able to communicate
Exactly.
later on.
Mm-hmm.
What about therapists and counselors?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Could they use this too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be a really amazing tool for exploring those big existential themes, you know, helping people reflect on life's meaning,
Right.
come to terms with their mortality.
These are big questions.
They are.
Yeah.
And, you know, even find a sense of peace in the face of death.
It sounds like it'd be really helpful for
Yeah.
people who are struggling with those things.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like the mandala ending note has the potential to be used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I think as more professionals learn about it,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see its applications expand even further.
That's really exciting to think about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like the people who were spreading the word about this. The mandala ending note facilitators.
Yeah.
How do they get trained and certified?
So the Mandala Ending Note Association,
Okay.
they're at the heart of it all. They provide the training and certification.
Right.
Creating this network of knowledgeable individuals
Okay.
who can guide others through this.
It's like a whole community
It is, yeah.
of support around this.
Mhm.
And are there any like benefits to becoming a certified facilitator?
There are.
Okay, like what?
So you can conduct workshops and charge fees.
Okay.
You get access to the notes at a discounted price.
Right.
You get listed in the association's online directory.
Okay, so people can find you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you also get access to a private Facebook group
Oh, cool.
and additional resources.
So they're really supporting their facilitators.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a facilitator, like, how do you actually promote your workshops?
So there are a lot of options.
Okay.
You can collaborate with other professionals like funeral homes,
Okay.
hospices. You can use online platforms and social media. You can even host like free introductory workshops
Okay.
to kind of give people a taste of what it's all about.
So it's really up to the facilitator to kind of figure out
Right.
what works best for them
Exactly.
and their community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And does the association offer different levels of membership?
They do.
Okay, like what are the options?
So you can go all in with like a paid facilitator membership
Okay.
and get all the benefits, or you can just dip your toes in with a free friend membership.
Friend member.
Yeah, and that gives you like limited access.
Okay.
And then of course you can always withdraw entirely.
Right. So it's pretty flexible, it sounds
Yeah.
like. They've really created a sustainable model
Yeah,
to support both the facilitators and the people they're helping.
exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
You know, we talked about the history, the methodology, the practical applications, the role of the facilitators,
Right.
even like the support network
Yeah.
that's been built around this.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that the mandala ending note is more than just a notebook.
It really is.
It's like a movement.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So what does it all mean for someone who's just hearing about this
Right.
for the first time?
Well, I think it's a powerful reminder that we have more control than we think.
Oh.
When it comes to like facing our own mortality. The Mandala Ending Note empowers us to reflect on our lives,
Right.
articulate our wishes,
Yeah.
and have those important conversations.
With the people we love.
Yeah, with our loved ones.
Okay.
And, you know, find a sense of peace in the process.
Rather than fear.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It encourages us to approach life's final chapter
Yeah.
with more compassion, understanding, and intention.
Yeah.
Really beautifully put. I love that. It really is kind of amazing, this whole mandala ending note thing, you know, with its structured approach.
Right.
And this whole network of facilitators. It's like they've created this roadmap
Yeah.
for something that a lot of people find really difficult and scary.
It's true. And you know, what's really fascinating to me is how they've managed to combine practical planning with this deeper emotional reflection.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting your affairs in order. You know, it's about finding meaning and connection.
Yeah, and we've seen that like throughout all these sources, just how important that connection is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with something as heavy as, you know,
Right.
facing your own mortality.
it can be very isolating.
Yeah.
And I think that's really one of the most powerful takeaways from all this, is that the mandala ending note, with its emphasis on sharing and communication, it's actually creating a community around this.
That's beautiful.
It is.
It's not this solitary task anymore.
Right.
You know, it becomes a shared experience.
Exactly. And then that shared experience can be so powerful, both for the individual and their loved ones. It can turn what might feel like a burden into an opportunity for connection and understanding.
Absolutely.
And even growth.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
You know, we've uncovered this really unique approach to something that can be kind of scary and shrouded in silence.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with something to consider.
Okay.
You know, while traditional ending notes are often done alone, the mandala ending note with these workshops and facilitators, it creates a whole community of support.
Yeah.
How do you think that changes things?
Wow.
Not just for us as individuals, but for society as a whole.
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
You know, what aspect of the mandala ending note resonated most with you and why? We hope this deep dive has given you some new insights and maybe even inspired you to explore this further.